Hey, happy Friday, besties and bosses. I'm playing around with filters today because I'm getting a little bit meta and talking all about content, so some content around content, and everyone's always saying content is king, but I think content is queen. Some things are popping up on my phone. So some questions came up in the group around content, particularly scheduling, and so I wanted to address those. And when I sat down to work on this, there's quite a bit of information around it, so it's going to be a two-parter. And today I wanted to start with a little bit of the what and why around content, and then next week I'll come in without a crown and we'll jam on more of the how of content planning, particularly around the scheduling part of it, and I'll share a little bit about how I come up with content ideas. So before we dig into this, I want to preface by saying I am a very real, flawed human on the other side of this, and I am growing and learning along with my business. And I share this to say because I think a lot of times we can hear information like this and we can feel like we're doing something wrong or we're so far behind if we don't have, we're talking about content, a content strategy all in place, or if we're not completely clear on what that is. And I want you to know that this is what I'm doing now. This is what's working for me now. This is not what I started with. I did not know this coming into my business. This is something that has evolved with time. And I am sure as I continue to grow, as my business and I both continue to grow, that some of this will change. So know that wherever you are, you're right where you should be. This isn't a race, and hopefully what I'm going to share today and what I'm going to share next week will give you some insights, give you some tips that will resonate with you and hopefully help shave some time off of that learning curve. But absolutely don't use this as any way to think you're doing anything wrong. And if you are creating content, kudos to you. Please celebrate that. Creating content consistently that is original is not easy. So give yourself some credit for showing up and doing the work. Okay, so while we talk about content, I think it would be good for us all to get on the same page. I have a feeling, I pulled up some notes here. I have a feeling that this group is pretty clear around what content is, but just in case somebody's watching and not quite sure, I know when I started my business, I had a general idea around content was, but the whole concept of content marketing was brand new to me. I think I was doing it without really realizing that that's what I was doing, just because I'm someone who likes to make things. But I definitely did not know what content marketing was. So this is a definition that I wrote that's a compilation of some real definitions from online and also my experience. So content is how we express ourselves, communicate, and share information and experiences through different mediums with the intention to have it be received by an audience. And content can be free or paid, and it includes videos like this, it includes blog posts, it includes lectures, talks, webinars, social media posts. Those are content that we are putting out into the world, courses that we're creating. So content is a whole bunch of stuff. It's a whole world of stuff. Now, content marketing is taking that, pulling it all together, and using this content as a way to market our work. I like to think of content as a way to connect and build relationships through service and providing value. So when we're creating content, it's allowing us to connect with others and do that through service and through sharing something of value or inspiration or a tip. Seth Godin, if you're into his work, he says content marketing is the only marketing left. You may agree, disagree, but it at least speaks to the idea that it's not dead, because I think there is a message floating around online that that's the case. Oh, my battery's dying. So content marketing is, I'd say it's probably the main strategy I use to grow my business and to get clients. I think content marketing is a way for us also to gain visibility. And I would guess about 75 to 80% of my clients have come through content marketing. Even the people I know on a personal level who have become clients, they didn't become clients before they had seen some of my content and interacted with some of my content and gotten to know me through my work. So this might not be the case for everyone, but that's definitely been the case for me. And I freaking love content. I love making it. I love what it can do for us. So let's talk about why this is such a freaking awesome way to grow our businesses, to get visible, to market ourselves, because in case you can't tell, I effing love it. So with content marketing, what we're doing is what's called pull marketing versus push marketing. So with pull marketing, we are pulling people towards us. So when we create content, we are pulling people towards us versus just pushing our agenda or trying to push sales onto people. And I personally think that is such a classier way than being really pushy and desperate and just saying, buy my stuff, buy my stuff, buy my stuff. In fact, with content marketing, we're not even selling. What we're doing is we are building a relationship. We're sharing some value first. And then after that relationship is established, we are then presenting whatever our services or our products are. So we are giving first and asking second. With push marketing, we're just asking. And then maybe we're giving again after we ask for something in return. So I think it's just such a classier way for all of us to present our work and to connect with people. Now, one of the, I think, most awesome things about content marketing is it really allows us to build those relationships and to build that trust. And I am a big believer that business, whether we're online, whether we're brick or mortar, it all comes down to relationships. That's how we grow our businesses, and that's what it's kind of all about. So whether you are a restaurant on the corner or you're selling online courses, you're building relationships with people, and that's where your business is growing. And it's so essential. And I think we tend to forget sometimes on the online world that there are real people on the other side, and creating content allows us to connect with those people and to build some real relationships with them. We've all heard, I think, the know, like, trust factor. Content allows us to build some of that know, like, and trust. And I think what's wonderful about content is not everyone, hopefully my battery won't die on us. Not everyone is going to buy our services. Not everyone is going to buy our products. By sharing content, we're giving people some value. We're able to help those people, provide some services to people who might never buy from us. I think that's a wonderful thing. I know in my business, for example, not everyone can afford one-on-one coaching. Not everybody is ready for one-on-one coaching. I can only handle so many clients at one time. By providing and showing up with content, I'm able to hopefully share some tips, hopefully give some value, to give some inspiration or motivation to those people who I might never work with. And I think that's a really beautiful and lovely thing. I think, gosh, I'm just going to rattle off a whole bunch of these because there's just so many great things about content. So content also allows us to build that trust. So when we create content on a regular basis and we're showing up consistently, we're telling people, hey, you can trust me. I deliver on what I say I will. I'm going to show up when I say I will. And in a world where someone can just throw up a website overnight and claim to be an expert in something, this is really valuable because it allows all of us to show that there's some substance behind whatever words we're saying, whatever claims we're making, whatever promises we're making. And I think this is incredibly important for all of us. And this isn't to diss anyone who's throwing up a website overnight. Kudos to you for starting your own business and putting yourself out there. But when we're creating content, we're showing there's some real depth behind our work. And it allows people to get to know us again. So when we're creating content, we're not just providing value. We're, again, building that relationship, and people are getting to know who we are, what we have to share. Hey, who just joined? Talking all about content and why I'm freaking obsessed with it and why I think it's such a great way for all of us to get that visibility and to grow our businesses and to connect with others. So part of what happens with content is we really allow people get to know what we're all about. People get to learn who we are, who our businesses are, what we have to offer. So for example, if you land on my website right now, I think there are almost 100 blog posts. So without us having to hop on the phone, without us having to meet in person, you're able to go there and really get an idea and a good sense of who I am, what my work is all about, what I have to offer, what some of my thoughts are. So it really gives people that opportunity to get to know us while we're sleeping or while we're not there. It just helps us to have that wider reach. Now, I think with content marketing, there's some awesome fringe benefits as well. And one of the benefits I find from creating content is it allows us to, or it forces us to sit our butts down and come up with new ideas. And this is, I think, so important for all of us. It helps us to strengthen and hone our message. It helps us to get more clear on our message. It helps us to create new ideas and expand upon those ideas. One of the best ways for any of us to learn, for our memory to work, one of the ways we can increase our memory is through teaching, is through sharing. So when we sit down and we create those ideas or we teach people our ideas, it's actually strengthening our memory and our personal learning. So we get some of the benefit from that, which I think is just pretty cool. The other thing that happens with sharing content, and this is something that I just think, again, is that fringe benefit, is I think it helps us to all walk our talk a little more. So for me, I want to be in integrity with what I'm sharing. I want to be in integrity with the content I'm sharing. So when I share something, you better believe I'm practicing it on the other end. And I think it acts as a form of accountability for all of us. When we share content around an idea, for example, meditation or a morning ritual, I think it helps hold all of us accountable as we're creating that content to make sure that we're showing up in our own lives, practicing what we preach. And I think it's not just that relationship building with others, but it's that relationship building with ourselves and that integrity with ourselves. So I think that's such a great fringe benefit to creating content, using content as a marketing strategy. One of the other things that I think might speak to a lot of people in this group, because I think there's a lot of creatives in this group, is when we're creating content, we're getting to do what for many of us is something that lights us up and that makes us happy. Creating content puts me in my happy space. I am making something every time, and I find this to be incredibly fulfilling. And it really, I think, is a mindset shift that can help some of us to think we get to sit down and we get to create something and we get to share it versus we have to do this to grow our businesses. I'll share that for many of you know I was an actress in my previous life, and I always felt like I was waiting for an acting role or waiting for someone to come around with a part. And creating content puts me back in the driver's seat. I feel like I get to sit down, create the work myself, and I don't have to wait for someone else to tell me, here's a part, you can make something. So I really find it puts me in my happy space, a happy place, and I get to get into some of that flow, which I think we all crave and want. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I wanted to touch on today. I think with content just in general, the other thing that is a benefit to creating content is, and I don't think we should be thinking about it this way, this is a little bit of an ego-driven thing, but it helps establish that expert status that I think so many of us want. And I share this cautiously because I don't think that we should be creating content from a place of trying to establish an expert status. I think that can get a little bit into that ego-driven part of our mind, but I do think as we continually show up, as we continually share our thoughts, we can become perceived as an expert in our field. And I think that is a wonderful thing, and that is a way that helps our business grow. And that is something I think we do want versus trying to be an expert from that ego-driven space. I hope that makes sense. And I think that's just another benefit of that content marketing. So that is what I've got for you today. I am so fired up about content, something I don't necessarily know in the past I would have been fired up to share about, but I sincerely love creating it. I sincerely think it is such an important and brilliant way for all of us to be more visible, to grow our businesses, to connect with others, and to build those authentic relationships with others. Yes, it is not always easy. Yes, it takes work. Yes, we have to sit our butts down to create it. Yes, sometimes there's a little bit of sweat and tears involved, but I very much think that what's on the other side of it is so worth it. You end up having a body of work that you can look back on and be proud of. And I think there's so much to be said for that, if nothing else. So that is what I've got for you today on the what and why of content. Next week, I'm going to come back and I will talk more around the how of content. I'll talk a little bit about how I come up with some of my ideas because someone asked about that, as well as how I currently am planning and scheduling my content. And there's so many ways to do this, but I'll just give you a peek behind the scenes as to how I do that in case that's helpful for any of you. If you are watching this on the replay, I'd love to hear from you. Does this resonate? Are you creating content? Are you not creating content? Why? Do you have any questions? Throw them below and I'll come back and check on those. And for any of you who are looking for a little more support, who maybe want to dive into your content marketing strategy, who maybe you're a little stuck on that ideal client question mark or some of your messaging, maybe you're not quite ready for a long-term coaching relationship, I have 2 of my intensive coaching sessions available right now for the month of December. They're 90 minutes. We can jam on one topic, go deep, leave you with something actionable. So if you're interested in that, I'd love to support you. There is a link, I don't know if it's above or below, but there's a link for that. You can also private message me, and I'd love to support you on that. And that is what I've got for you this week. I will be back next week with more. I'm wishing you all a beautiful, happy weekend. I'm sending you so much love. Go make some stuff, and we'll talk soon. Wishing you your version of success. Lots of love.